You know what time it is? It's time to win with your boy EyeImposter and the Seyelent Assassin. EyeImposter
And the Seyelent Assassin presents
10 of the most scariest elf on the shelf
moments
caught on video.
Another elf that seems to be in a party mood and is definitely up to no good in the kitchen during the night. At first, the little guy's just innocently sitting on the kitchen counter without moving, but since everybody else in the house appears to be asleep, he decides that it's time to have some fun. The elf gets up to have a closer look at the camera, only to enter the pantry a moment later. He takes a quick look to make sure that no one else but the camera's watching and decides it's safe to do some mischief. He starts throwing some cans and other stuff around before we see a small car with 2 dolls inside approaching. The sassy little elf is not only causing trouble by himself, but also invites some friends to his party. After the car disappears in the pantry for a moment, it emerges again, now carrying 3 passengers and pulling a small box of candy. The 3 leave the kitchen, but later our elf is back and kisses the camera before flying back to his original spot. The only thing that suggests the elf was in the kitchen are the cans that are still scattered over the floor in front of the pantry. Just like the little guy from the Christmas tree we mentioned earlier, this elf likes to climb too. At first we see him sitting on top of a curtain pole, not moving before he eventually begins to descend by moving hand over hand along the curtain and then just drops down to the floor and out of sight. Then all of a sudden the camera starts shaking before we see that the elf is the one moving it. The adventurous little fella basically floats with the camera for a few seconds and then decides to take it elsewhere. There's a lot of movement on the device as our elf seems to struggle to pick it up, but eventually he sets it down on the floor in front of the coffee table. He checks if it's still working and then makes his way to the hall where he leaves it pointed at one of the doors. The next thing we see is our friend walking into another doorway before we hear the sounds of a toilet being flushed and someone washing their hands. Having finished his business in the bathroom, the elf reappears and possibly moves around the house, but sadly the video ends at this point and we won't be able to witness his adventures. The next video shows an elf who is obviously in a party mood in the days leading up to Christmas. This smart little guy evidently figured out how to use a laptop and goes to YouTube to listen to some tunes, and he apparently knew exactly what he was in the mood for. Before starting his little party, he came in well prepared in order to do the pen pineapple apple pen dance. This elf brought an apple and a pen, and it certainly doesn't look like this is his first dance session to the song because he has a whole choreography prepared and goes through the moves like a pro. If certain things weren't caught on camera, we wouldn't believe them to have happened or to even be true. While the video starts out initially slow, we can see the elf hanging onto the tree as if he's a normal doll. After a moment, he starts to move around, which can be a bit startling if you're not expecting any movement. He can then be seen slowly making his way down the tree, though he seems to be having a bit of trouble while he does it. Once he finds himself at the bottom of the tree, he can be seen jumping onto the couch, in which he takes a look around before exiting the view of the camera. About 10 minutes later, he can be seen walking back into view, scaling up the tree again. It's not stated in the video where he could have gone, but it's clear he took a bit of time doing whatever he needed to do. Another elf that doesn't wait until nightfall to stretch his legs for a bit is Boris, who seems to be unaware of the fact that he has been set up and is being filmed. After his human friend leaves him sitting on the sofa alone for just a minute to go downstairs, it only takes Boris a moment to seize his opportunity. The little fella gets up and spins around, doing pirouette-like movements almost as if he's practicing figure skating. For an instant, he disappears from screen before flying back into view, then dropping down on his face as he hears his friend coming back. Unfortunately, Boris might have been a little too reckless since he was not only caught on camera, but even gives himself away due to the fact that he's in a completely different position than what his human friend left in before.
He just moved? Oh my god, guys. Did you see that? did you seriously see that? Oh my god, that was the first time I ever moved, like, on a video.
If their eyes weren't creepy enough, seeing them move can be quite terrifying. In the video, he can be shown sitting on what looks to be the ledge above the fireplace next to a few different items. He then can be seen looking around a bit as he watches the things around him. How no one noticed this is already amazing on its own. He can then be seen looking at the camera and waving a bit at it before completely disappearing from the ledge. It seems to almost signify the fact that Santa is always watching to make sure everyone is doing their very best to be good for Christmas. This is a funny one. The elf starts shifting its eyes to see if anyone is around, which to some may come off a bit creepy. Some may find something like this scary, but if you continue to see the video, the elf starts to lean on a tiny Christmas tree and turned on all the lights on it. After that, it leans on the camera in front of it. It would then go to a different part of the office to print a picture of itself, dragging it back till a woman comes back into the room. Then it flops onto the ground and stays there when the video cuts out. This is a short clip, but it's creepy. We have a person talking to the elf, introducing them into the camera, and is talking in a whispering tone while what seems to be just sitting there looking away from the camera. When all of a sudden, the elf's eyes just shift toward the camera, and the person behind the camera turns and leaves, running, being scared to even somewhat scream. That seems which is a switch in tone from such a monotone voice. Oftentimes when we think of elves that either live in fantasy worlds or Santa's little workers. We find them fascinating to think about, but when this man caught his elf on a shelf toy making popcorn, we were taken away. The video starts out with the elf sitting at the microwave as he seemingly was waiting for his food to finish. Then he starts moving all on his own, opening the microwave and taking out his popcorn. In the next clip, he can be seen dumping out all the popcorn into a bowl. He then seemingly lifts the camera and pans at the video to show the popcorn on the ground, making sure to show the popcorn on the floor and show himself looking at the camera. After all of this, he then sets the camera down and walks towards the edge of the counter, but looks back at it as if to make sure everyone is watching. A few seconds later, he can be seen taking a leap into the popcorn on the floor, where another camera is shown to be filming him as he enters the popcorn. Not all elves wait for humans to leave the house or sleep before they start moving, even if their movement is just very subtle. This elf is hanging upside down from a lamp, for example. The camera person teases him touching his hat.
If you like to see us win, subscribe to the EyeImposter and Seyelent Assassin.